Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to Mindful Adventures. For today I want to share with you a mindful practice that really resonates with me, and it's something that I've been exploring for several months now. It's given me some great understanding into how both the masculine and feminine energy manifests itself through consciousness in the body and also in the world around. And I figured I'd share it with you today. Before we get started, I just want to say that, we hear about concepts like being and non-being, action to non-action, interdependence and consciousness. And while it's great to have an intellectual understanding of these things, what's crucial is that these things are taken to the heart. It doesn't just remain head stuff, head knowledge, but it's brought down into the heart of understanding. And that can only come about through practice. Really taking the abstract and the information and finding real world applications that, and you may have to experiment and see, what is it that works for you and what is it that speaks to you. But through this experimentation and really this exploration, one can come to great understanding of these things and begin to internalize them into your everyday living experience. So today's practice is hand washing clothing. And it is a bit old school. I was speaking with a friend about a week ago on how some of the old school practices really have so much richness and great value to them. And of course, through the advancement of technology and the internet and so much information that's out there, some of these practices have been lost. But we're going to go back and we're going to bring it back to today, right now. So I have this big bucket of water right here and a few items of clothing. And so now the key is when you're picking out which items that you want to do the practice with, I'd say you should choose an item of higher quality, meaning something that's going to last quite a bit of time, and an item that is perceived as low quality. Now, I understand that when we're talking about non-duality, that it seems kind of like it's a contradiction. Like, why would you categorize the clothing if you're trying to move towards the being and the heart space, which can be really non-dual and free in its own nature? But the key here is that we have to kind of dive into the duality, dive into action in order to move towards non-action. This is the secret to the magic of life. And so here we go. We have I have a t-shirt here, one of my favorite sweaters, and actually I brought two t-shirts up. We have a whole laundry basket just packed to the top of laundry, so trust, after this, I'm actually going to go down and use the washing machine, but just for this exercise, I'm going to use these few items of clothing here. All right, so to start, the intention here is to really be a witness. You want to relax into your own awareness as the witness of all perceptions and all experiences. And so that begins by first taking the items of clothing. You can feel the texture and really get a good sense of, I wouldn't smell it. If it's too dirty, I would say you can get a good sense of smell. I'm going to avoid that right now because these haven't been washed in a long time. But really to feel the sensation of the clothes, feel the texture that's there, and remain a witness, okay? And so as you're submerging the clothes in water, first thing is you want to just notice how the water feels in the hands, or to the hands. You're feeling the warmth, feeling the wetness. Also, you have the texture of the clothing. Bring your attention to the sound of the water and the sound of the clothes as they're draining into the water. Like this. I should have removed my rings, but oh well. Put these to the side for now. Okay, so first thing to bring attention to when you're hand washing clothes is, of course, the sensations, right? You have the sensations, you have the sound. I'm actually starting to smell the soap, not the body odor and the oils that are trapped in the clothing, but smelling the freshness of the soap. And just put your entire attention, all of your awareness into the act, all right? See, the actor is the act, which really negates the need for identifying with as a separate self. But remember here, you're going to become one with the act of washing, one with the act of submerging the clothing. Okay? And just take your time, slowly pushing the clothes into the water, bringing them back out. I'm going to do this several times. For the sake of the video, I'm going to keep it short, but usually I spend about, I'd say 15 minutes on this first phase of just soaking the clothing and really paying close attention to the sound of the water. It can also be a little bit playful. It doesn't have to be too serious, you know? Sometimes I just like, woo! I don't care how messy it gets. Really, you want to put all of your attention and all of your awareness into the wash. Okay. And what's beautiful about this practice is that, you know, you start to get a sense of, I don't know, I'd say maybe some appreciation, you know, appreciating how the clothing that you're wearing, it not only it hides the nakedness, but it also keeps you warm, it protects the body from the sun. You know, really begin to contemplate what it is about the items that you wear that that may be taken for granted, you know? All right, so just a few more times here. Okay, and then after massaging the items together, I'm just gonna sit this aside and let it soak just for a few minutes before continuing. Okay, so that's the first step. Now it's important also to bring your attention to where the clothing comes from. You know, and I think this is how you can get a good sense of interdependence. And actually, I brought this book. I want to share just a paragraph from Being Peace by Thich Nhat Hanh. I'm probably mispronouncing his name. I always do. A few words on interdependence, but just think, you know, about the cotton, right? And how the cotton grew in the field. There was someone or something, whether it's a machine or a human being, that came through and picked the cotton. That requires energy, you know, whether it's the person that's picking it and the energy that they receive through the food that they ate to pick the cotton, and then to carry it inside to go through the process of, I don't know what the entire process is, but I know that it's a process. But think about how the cotton grows in the field, and that's dependent on the sunshine and the rain. Also dependent on the clouds. It's dependent on the air, you know, and the wind. And you can really start to see the interconnectedness of all things. And also you're merging with that interconnectedness. You're merging to become one with the items that are being washed. And of course, because these items are dependent on a wide variety of different forms, then all becomes one through that act. So let's see what we have here in Being Peace about interdependence. I feel like this will really drive the point home a little bit more. So it says, just as a piece of paper is the fruit, the combination of many elements that can be called non-paper elements, the individual is made of non-individual elements. If you're a poet, you will clearly see that there is a cloud floating in this sheet of paper. Without the cloud, there will be no water. Without the water, the trees cannot grow. And without trees, you cannot make paper. So the cloud is in here. The existence of this page is dependent on the existence of the cloud. Paper and cloud are so close. So let's think of other things like sunshine. Sunshine is very important because the forest cannot grow without sunshine, and we humans cannot grow without sunshine. So the logger needs sunshine in order to cut the tree, and the tree needs sunshine in order to be a tree. Therefore, you can see sunshine is in this sheet of paper. One more. If you look even deeper, with the eyes of a bodhisattva, with the eyes of those who are awake, you see not only the cloud and the sunshine that's in it, but that everything is here. The wheat that became the bread for the logger to eat, the logger's father, and everything is in this sheet of paper. And the Avatamsaka Sutra tells us that you cannot point to one thing that does not have a relationship with this sheet of paper. And so I say that you cannot point to a single thing in existence that does not have a relationship to the clothing that you're washing in this mindful practice. So for the men out there who are watching, I know that, maybe some resistance could arise of, oh my gosh, that seems so, feminine. I'm washing my clothes and putting so much, care and attention by washing, my items by hand. Well, I just want you to consider that you take a look at that, if there's any resistance to maybe what is perceived as feminine energy, that you can also bring awareness to that, bring your loving attention to that resistance that could arise. You see, because it's because of a misunderstanding between our own masculine and feminine energies and how they really is just one energy. I think that misunderstanding has given rise to what we see in the world and what we call toxic masculinity. There really is no such thing as masculine and feminine energy being toxic. Energy is energy, but it's when we separate the head from the heart, and it's when we try and divide the masculine from the feminine that toxicity, I guess, could arise. So for those of you out there, hey guys, if you want to, you can do this and not tell your friends that you're doing the practice, because they'll be like, oh man, that's so sissified, or whatever they may say. It's nonsense. Don't pay attention to them. Just make sure that you you do the practice mindfully, and also be a witness to whatever emotions and feelings could arise in you as you're doing this practice. So the next step that I find to be very relaxing and meditative is when you're squeezing out the water, right? So after the clothes have had some time to soak, all right, what you're going to do is bring your awareness to the strength in your hands as you're squeezing the water out. And put all of your strength into the squeeze, also with the intention of releasing any stress or pent-up energies and emotions that are there. Just squeeze it out. Remain a witness to this process. Also, if it helps to imagine that you're squeezing out, anger, sadness, confusion, you can really apply this to anything that's arising in your awareness. Allow it to arise freely. It's not about resistance, it's really about allowance. And squeeze it out as you're squeezing the water out of each of your items. And just listen to the sound of the water, I love it. When you are sitting in total awareness, clear seeing, and absolute silence, the vastness of consciousness, the sound of a raindrop, the sound of the water, dropping back into back down into the bucket, is can be very ecstatic, and it's a very meditative process that can bring a lot of peace to the mind, peace to the heart. I also find that this brings about a quality of humility, It's, when we create distance between ourselves and the world around us, even though there is no distance, mind is the only distance. But again, back to the example, when we create a distance between us and the clothing and the process of washing, it's easy, or becomes easy, to take these things for granted, right? But when you're bringing your attention, your loving attention and care to your clothing, and actually engaging in the process, you'll find a sense of humility there, right? That the clothing that we wear and that we toss in the corner at the end of the day, hopefully we put it in a laundry basket, but hey, sometimes we may toss it on the floor or toss it in the corner. But now we're actually taking the time to give it the care that it deserves. And in this practice, once again, one can strengthen their awareness, not only of one's own energies and perceptions, but also of humility, of love, interdependence, oneness. It's all the same. See, I mix it all together. I'm not leaving anything to the side. So just put it all in there. God, consciousness, being, non-being, it's all the same. But again, it's about bringing these things down from the head to the heart through simple things, through naturalness, real world application. I think that's what is important here. There we go. And so, if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comment section. And let me know how your experience goes. I'd say, typically I spend this is about an hour to 2 hour long process, including just allowing it to soak for anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes. So I'll do the, submerging and massaging the clothing together, squeezing out all of those oils. That takes about 15 minutes. Then I allow it to soak. I empty the water, change it, and then I repeat the process again with some fabric softener. And however long it takes you, it's up to you. But the key here is to remain a witness from the very beginning until the very end. So even as you're emptying the water out and filling it up with fresh, clean water, to be aware of not only the sound of the running water, but the weight of the bucket, the weight of the clothing, the texture, just to bring it into your total awareness and your acceptance. And in that, maybe you'll come to some great insights. So may all beings come to true understanding of interdependence, consciousness, and pure awareness of being one with all things. Namaste.